The Marvels is finally here, uniting Captain Marvel with Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau for a cosmic adventure. I say finally because I just feel like I've consumed like a decade's worth of marketing material in just the last few months for this movie. It feels like Marvel Studios has been doing everything in their power to try and get people interested in this movie. I do want to give credit where credit is due and defend this movie by saying the trailers did not do this movie any justice at all. They made this movie look like it was going to be so much worse, in my opinion. So in this movie, we follow Captain Marvel, who gets entangled with Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau after they make simultaneous contact with this cosmic space energy. They go up against Dar-Ben, played by Zahl Ashton, who, fun fact, is actually Tom Hiddleston's partner. She is the new leader of the Kree, and we find out she has a bone to pick with Captain Marvel. So normally I like to start out with the positives, but while I'm talking about her, I gotta say that I was not crazy about her. Her villainous motive was fine. I just hate that it was completely driven by something that had happened totally off screen in between movies. Think like the Hulk mastering the monster in him in Endgame and how dissatisfying that was. She gives this whole grand expositional speech to a crowd that already knows all this information. So really, she's just telling us why Captain Marvel sucks and why that justifies her motive. It was just another moment that felt totally spoon-fed. Shifting gears and talking about some of the positives of this movie, I loved Miss Marvel in this movie. She adds so much heart and so much fun to this film. I thought her show, Miss Marvel, was like medium, which did not leave me too excited for her future in the MCU, but honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by her in this movie, and I'm now very excited about her future in the MCU. Nick Fury wasn't very important in this movie, but man, did I love him in it. I'm not sure if Samuel L. Jackson's personality is just starting to bleed over into this character, or if he's just always been that way and I've just never noticed, but every time we had him on screen, he was an absolute delight. Honestly, even though he wasn't that important of a character, I think that the collection of Nick Fury scenes in this movie, I would personally rate better than all of Secret Invasion. Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau were both just meh. They each had a little bit of character depth, but not very much. I would have loved to have cared a lot more about their arcs or their dynamic, but I just don't think I was ever given a great reason to. So I genuinely loved the first half hour of this movie. It was fun, it was action-packed, it was Marvel giving us top-tier Marvel energy. I strongly feel that way. Things remained fine for some time after that, but at some point in the movie, things just kind of got unamusing, and it never really picked itself back up after that. There were a lot of moments in this movie where there should have been emotional payoff, but they felt completely unemotional just because they didn't feel earned. They just felt rushed, especially going into the third act. It just didn't feel climactic because of how quickly we got there. I know that probably makes me sound like a total spectacle film fan by saying that I wasn't a big fan of the character depth, but I was a big fan of the action. But in my defense, I was going into this movie hoping that the opposite would be true. With the movie only being an hour and 40 minutes, I think there could have been a lot more time spent focusing on complexity, either with the conflict at hand or with the characters in their dynamics perhaps. Just because by the third act, there wasn't really enough complexity to make me care that much about either of those two things. The overall tempo of the movie also just felt very quick. We were constantly jumping from scene to scene very quickly, or dialogue bit to dialogue bit too quickly, and it just really made it impossible for tension to build. There were a few scenes in this movie that just screamed, this was the studio's idea, and not the screenwriters or the directors. Those, coupled with all the previs action scenes, just don't make the movie feel like it was made with passion, like it was just another day at work for the studio. Let's also address the fact that this is yet another Marvel movie that just doesn't work by itself. Just like Quantumania, for maximum enjoyment, you need to watch several other Marvel projects to have full context and understand the how and why of all the important details. All that said, is this movie watchable? Yeah, very. But it unfortunately leaves me concerned that they may never do Captain Marvel the justice that that character deserves. Again, the beginning of this movie was totally awesome. There's this long sequence where the three leads are constantly swapping places in the midst of action, and the whole time I'm thinking, dude, this is awesome. I just wish that I could have said that for the rest of the movie. The way I feel about this movie is the exact same way that I feel about most Marvel pictures nowadays. It's fine. It doesn't steal my heart or really even come close to it, but in typical Marvel fashion, it has its ways of charming us. If you're an MCU fan, definitely watch this movie. There are treats for you in it. If you're only a casual Marvel viewer, then you might be missing some of the context needed to understand everything and every character, but you might still really enjoy this movie. But if you're not already into superhero movies, then this is not the one to change your mind. Thank you for watching this review. If it brought you any value at all, please consider giving it a like. It really does help the channel grow. I'll see you next week for my reviews of Saltburn and Next Goal Wins.